We might just have not just two champions, but two future UFC champions on our hands. That's right. Welcome to the Australian MMA podcast. 15 minutes after the show has come to a close, Hex Fight Series 31, June 14th, Melbourne Pavilion. Just jumping on here, give you my thoughts. Now, we're going to cover, of course, Navajo Sterling becoming the new Hex Light Heavyweight Champion, George Mangos shocking the scene, if you will, and becoming the Hex Featherweight Champion. We'll start at the bottom of the card. Time codes might be below, if I can be bothered. But skip through to the fight you want. But look, stick around because I've got some big calls on George Mangos, Navajo Sterling, and what I think Jared Wilbraham, Sam Kikembo, and Justin Van Heerden should do next. And I also didn't forget about Sam K either. Look, we'll start at the start of the card. D. Samasoni got a knockout. I think it was minute 2 into round number 1, standing sort of TKO against Jesse Arnott. Look, D. Samasoni looked great, bounced back. I think it was at middleweight, that fight, if I'm not mistaken. He bounced back from his sort of welterweight blunder where a fight got cancelled because he weighed so much over at Beatdown Promotions. So unfortunate for him. But look, it's good to see him back in sort of the favourable stance. D. Samasoni. If he's at middleweight, I'd like to see him stay at middleweight. He looks good at middleweight. I heard good things. I often talk to Alfred Stoddart, who they either fought or were going to fight or something like that. He says amazing things about D. Samasoni as well. Everyone's super high on him. I don't want him to kind of ever be questioned about weight and stuff in the future. So D. Samasoni at middleweight, if he's going to knock dudes out, why not stay there? So shout out to him and all the Combat 1 team. Good to see Jono Mikalev too in the corner. Shout out to him, former Hex welterweight champion, Combat 1, absolute stud of a gym. And D. Samasoni is one of my sort of hidden under the radar flyers of like fighters to watch. We move on to the second. I think this was the second bout. Might get some of the order sort of mixed up. I'm untoo sure, and you will just have to stay with me. It's been a long night. Now, the second bout, Dion Mooney versus Adnan Larry. Dion Mooney coming in 0-3, Adnan Larry 2-2. Now, I think the official result, of course, you can go to Australian MMA_ to see the official result. Dion Mooney stopped Adnan Larry, I think TKO ground and pound in the second. Now, interesting, as a man 0-3, why would he be featured? He was one of the highlights of the night. Adnan Larry looked amazing out of Absolute MMA, and people have been quite high on him to a degree with the heavyweights, but unfortunately, it looks like he just sort of gassed. Couldn't get it done. And Dion Mooney stayed strong and ended up finishing. Adnan Larry came back from like 2 massive cuts under his eyelids, to where the doctors even got brought in. But the fight was one thing. The fight was great. What an amazing comeback. What I loved is at 1-3, Dion Mooney grabs the microphone. He bloody calls out Randall Raymond, the Hex Heavyweight Champion, who's like 14-3. It's ridiculous. I loved it. It was amazing. They had a fight back in 2019, and Dion Mooney said like, man, I bloody touched you up. I think they might have even trained together at some point. And Randall Raymond, they posted that online. Randall Raymond came back with a video of his own, very quick. Mr. Raymond, bloody loved it. And if Raymond's not going to go to the UFC, and he's going to hang around the top end of Australian MMA because he's 37 and whatnot. I think, we all need to invest in the Hex Heavyweight Champion, Randall Raymond, because he basically called Dion Mooney Lizzo for his weight and said that I'll sum it up. You can go see it, Randall Raymond. I think I co-collabed it, so you can see the Australian MMA_ if you want to see what the Hex Heavyweight Champion said back to Dion Mooney. But he basically said, like, the world, I think he blames Lizzo for the world being okay with overweight people. It was something along those lines. Anyway, it's hilarious. The back and forth between them seems quite fun. I know that we might not see Randall taking on a 1-3 guy because he even said to like get some wins, get some numbers up, which you can't blame Raymond, who just took out a future UFC fighter in Brendan Pericic in New Zealand. But hey, Randall, you're not doing anything. I mean, I think that fight could be quite interesting. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not. But I'd like to see more Dion Mooney in the future. We now move on to a second heavyweight fight. Was it too many heavyweight fights? Could have been. Look, tricky with heavyweights because if you get just big knockouts, it's amazing. But if you get a bit of kind of them gassing early because they are big boys, it does become a bit more grindy and not the most like exciting. I still thoroughly enjoyed Ricky Beechin and Kelvin Fatah. I think Kelvin is just tough as nails. I think he's fought Brandon Pericic, Navajo Sterling. Like he's the guy in New Zealand that he's like the Anthony Smith of Australian MMA, of like New Zealand MMA. Like you kind of like, hey, no one else wants to fight this guy. I want to fight this guy, and he does every single time. But he seemed to have gassed a little bit as well. Ricky Beechin just did enough to sort of get by. I would love to see more from Ricky Beechin. If he's going to be in like the upper echelon, to maybe get another shot at Randall Raymond or a Brando Pericic down the line, or even a Sam K, depending on what he wants to do, if he wants to go back up. Ricky, once upon a time won 2 fights in one night to be the eternal MMA heavyweight champion, but just sometimes he just can't put it all together and he just can't put on like a dominant display. I'd like to see him put some dudes away. He's definitely got time. I think he's still quite young. But yeah, I think it's the headspace as well. Like you even see it in the Hex promos, which they do a really good job of like the sort of fighter profiles leading up to the fight. That you kind of get to know him a little bit. And Ricky Beechin is actually like quite like almost like timid, reserved guy at times. And like fighting, he did it because he was like scared. So if he can get that on that mentally, like I'm sure the sky's the limit for him. But yeah, I want to see him kind of put some more dudes away, and I think he's very, very capable of that. Moving on to the next fight. Once again, no idea if these are in order. But speaking of the Hex sort of profiles of the guys leading up to the next fight, Jack Lyons taking on Raf Scott. Raf Scott coming back after 6 years. Jack Lyons, absolute stud. He ran like 487 marathons in like 4 days. I think it was like 51 marathons in 51 days, and then he ran another one just cause, and it was to raise money, and he like looks after kids with disability. It's like Jack Lyons is just amazing. He's a great dude as well. He probably came in the heavy favourite. I think his only loss was to Abdullah Biata, and Jack's a stud. And Raf Scott is kind of like very good, but he's been 6 years and probably was definitely the underdog in that fight. He weighed, I think 1.5 kilos over, maybe 1.2, something along those lines. He actually had to do the sauna suit at the weigh-in. It's quite interesting because that's the picture if you go to Australian MMA _ where Frankie Barker is like interviewing him while he's cutting weight. And if you look at the Hex weigh-in photos, he's not in the face-off because he's missing weight and he's off cutting weight. So very bad weight, very, very, very bad weight cut. There's also a lot of critiques too that I think he had to weigh under, this was reported from the Southern Cross Combat, shout out Joel. He had to weigh, no fighter could weigh over 78 kilos or something on fight night, which I found interesting because that's a weird cap on your rehydration after you've nearly died making weight. It doesn't seem like the safest, but I wasn't there, so I know the deets. But look, either way, Jack Lyons looked really, really good. And like I said, he, maybe, it's a big call here, maybe he wins that fight 9 times out of 10 type thing. But Raf Scott won it on the night and won it when it mattered most. With a slick triangle right near the buzzer, which almost seemed to be like the story of the night was on the buzzer. And yeah, put him away. Raf Scott, congratulations. I don't know if like in situations like this, do you do like a rematch because of the weight issue? I don't know if both boys want that. If both boys did want that, I think that's kind of cool because I think almost like Raf Scott owes him that, because Jack Lyons could have walked away. Many people have walked away from a fighter that has missed sort of weight that bad in the past. In a very weird way, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. Once again, let me know your thoughts, Australian MMA _. We move up to Trent Girdham and Corey Sutcliffe. Now, Trent Girdham is a very interesting one as well. He's an interesting cat. I really like him. He's had a corner that had someone from Freestyle, someone from... he had Raja Shippen from Absolute MMA. He had Michael Stanoff from Lion's Den. And I think he had... Colby Thickness from Freestyle MMA. So it was very weird to have three... It's like he just grabbed three dudes he knew at the back. Or he said, like, hey, guys, who's not doing anything? And obviously, like, he's trained at those gyms before, or trained with those guys before. He did really well in the fight. He was, of course, supposed to fight Michael Barber. That fight didn't materialise because Barber, like, tore his whole knee apart. That would have been a cracker of a fight. Trent ended up taking up Corey Sutcliffe, who stepped up. Nearly got him in a twister, which Trent Girdham has ironically lost via twister before. Trent Girdham was, I think it was a featherweight. I don't know if he wants to sort of hang around featherweight or kind of go down to bantam, but he was sort of thrown around late last year in the sort of Sean Gauci, Cody Haddon bantamweight title picture. So I know that Hex are very, very high on him. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what they offer next for Trent Girdham. But I mean, look, you only beat who's in front of you. The guy stepped up on like a week's notice, less than. So big round of applause for Corey Sutcliffe. And Trent Girdham just did what he had to do and took the guy out. And be interesting to see what's next. Maybe you give him, like, if he's going to stay at feather, maybe you give him like a Sem Kakembo, which we will talk about now. As Sem Kakembo and Jarrett Wilbraham, the grudge match. Some people, like, they're mad in the comments of Hex. A lot of Melbourne fans or Sem fans not happy with the result. But look, I think Jarrett, who ended up winning by split decision over Sem, I think he won the first 2 rounds. They're not close, and then Sem sort of dominated, at least on the scoring part, in the third. Although Jarrett did manage to get to his feet a few times. It's always going to have that, almost like that schoolyard effect. Like, in the eyes of the judges, Jarrett won 2. In the eyes of the schoolyard, Sem finishes the fight on top with the most dominant round. You're always going to think, hey, that guy should win the fight. And I don't disagree with you. Also, Jarrett's quite awkward in his sort of exchanges. So I think some people can feel a bit iffy about that. And he's got that dominant cruise sort of on his bike, sort of sideways movement. Sometimes looks like he's sort of moving backwards at times. But I think, honestly, I'm not one to sit on the fence. Jarrett Wilbraham won the first 2 rounds. Sam just couldn't get anything going and couldn't figure Jarrett out, and then dominated him in round 3. I think it's good in the sense of, if you stick with the 4, and this is before we move on to the Hex featherweight title, Jarrett and Sem, Jarrett can now take on Mangos, Sem can maybe take on Justin, where if Justin would have won and Jarrett would have won, they're teammates, so that would have been very difficult. And vice versa, if Justin loses and Jarrett loses, it's quite awkward. But look, maybe wanted a bit more, blood and guts in that grudge match. I reckon you could have given those boys 5 rounds. And that very much could have been organised. I would have liked to see that between Jarrett and Sem. But who knows? Jarrett Wilbraham, the winner. So it's good to see him back in the win column though as well. He was on the verge of the Ultimate Fighter. And Khan Offley ended up getting that, who ended up stealing the old Hex featherweight title away from him in their bout as well when he beat Jarrett. So I'm sure Khan awfully haunts him a little bit. So Jarrett probably feels quite good about beating Khan's teammate in Sem. I'll sort of do some matchups with them when I go to the next fight. This is, of course, the Hex featherweight title. George Mangos is for real. He is special. He is like nothing I've sort of ever seen at that age. But he got his ass whooped early. And by whooped, I just mean like Justin Van Heerden fucking showed why he is like the man. He out-grappled him. He had George Mangos' back. George Mangos ended up winning by submission in the third round. People are saying flying triangle. I would say almost like crash landing triangle, because to my eyes, he got taken down and ended up in the position that gave him an opportunity, because he's such a smart grappler, that Mangos then put him in a triangle. But I don't think he set it up and went into it. I could be wrong. I'm sure George Mangos fans will be mad for me not saying it's flying triangle, but I'd like to ask Mr. Mangos if that was set up. I do not believe it was. But Justin dominated George round one, had his back, had a backpack stronger than a European tourist. Just would not give in. It was great. Second round, George still got taken down, but he was trying some stiff elbows from the bottom, and even threw a few up kicks to sort of finish the round. So he looked better. Third round, gets taken down again type thing, but showed a bit more on the feet, and then ultimately ends up in the triangle. Was it George's best showing? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, he's fighting a guy with 18 fights who was on the doorstep of the UFC. George Mangos took the gamble, and the gamble paid off. He walked away from the Eternal MMA Grand Prix. I won't go into those details, but if you hit up the George Mangos interview on Australian MMA, you can understand a little bit more there. But yeah, he bet on himself, man, and it paid off. I think he has some options as well. So at 4-0 and 20 years old. Harry Webb's a star, and he's 24. Quill and Sauerkind and that are all 25, and they're so young, and they're superstars. I think Quillen's 25. They're around about that. But George Mangos, seriously, he is he's straight out of daycare, and he might go straight into the Dana White Contender Series, Dana White Kindy Series. There you go. There's a joke for you Friday night. But yeah, he's a superstar. He really is. He's something special. Like I said, he's not his best showing. He's not his most dominant showing. But I liked that from Mangos, because he had to come back from adversity. Everyone else, he's just steamrolled. So it was really nice for him to get taken down by the best grappler in the featherweight division, and at least at the top, and kind of get dominated and have to kind of work his way out. As for Justin, tough, man. I think he's 30. He's still young, and there's still time to bounce back. But he had a 6-fight win streak, and it sounded like it was getting difficult for the UFC to give him a chance. So it's what are they doing now? Does he have to come back to the drawing board, win 6 again? Then he's 32, 33. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It's and in the world of the narrative, you'd almost rather Justin have won that, got his opportunity, and then there's enough time for George to sort of climb back up. But that ain't how the game goes, yo. Yeah, I mean, Justin's a slick team, Freestyle MMA. He will find his way back to some degree if he just ends up hanging out in Australian MMA. I think he deserves better than that. But like we said, that's how the game goes. You could maybe put Justin versus Sam Kikembo. They talk some shit to each other. That'd be a nice fight in September, I think, for Hex. Next year, it kind of sets it up a little bit better, though, if he does sit out. I don't think he will, because he didn't take much damage. It sets it up for Justin versus Abdullah. Justin Van Heerden versus Abdullah Biata. But that's down the road. What I think could be very interesting, people do get injured, especially in Grand Prix. June 22nd, there is Ollie Schmidt, Dim Skillies, Gabriel Schlupp, and still haven't mastered that last name, and Seb Saleh. You never know. Maybe, let's say hypothetically, I'm just talking shit here. Maybe tomorrow, Seb gets hurt. His teammates right there. I'm just saying. I know that Justin and Cam O'Neill, the eternal director, I know that they left on like relatively good terms. So you never know. You never know. Or down the road, there is a second round. Who knows? As for George Mangos, sky's the limit. I mean, he just bit like you could put him in. He won't because it's kind of not how it works. But like you could put George Mangos in the contenders tomorrow just because he beat Justin and he's 20 and they like young guys and all that sort of stuff. I would like another dominant showing by George Mangos. I know he just beat Justin Van Heerden and you think I'm crazy. But like he had to really battle back. So it's like you battle back, you got the title. I'd like him to then fight like Jarrett. And then let's say he staunches Jarrett in like a minute. Then you go, okay, cool, now you're off to the next level type thing. But yeah, George Mangos is a stud, man. Honestly, he's going to be a UFC champion. I don't care what you say. I don't care. He's just got it. Talk to him. He believes it. He's 20, so he's got fucking 10 years. Let's say fights 3 times a year. That's 30 fights. He's got 30 fights before he gets to Justin Van Heerden's age, and Justin still has time to get to the UFC. Let that sink in. I know there's probably issues with other promotions and whatnot and backing out of fights or verbally agreed upon fights and whatnot with the Eternal Grand Prix. But look, money talks, business talks. Maybe we see George just do the same thing I said about Justin. Maybe he fills in. Who knows? Who knows? Either way, George Mangos, congratulations. You're an absolute stud. Justin Van Heerden, you will be back. Now, we move on to the final fight of the night. And guys, if you have enjoyed this, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Spotify, whatever you're listening to. It helps my ego. Now, Navajo Sterling became the light heavyweight champion against Sam K round 3 TKO in Melbourne, June 14th, Hex Fight Series 31. Now, I like this for Navajo Sterling because he will probably get signed off of this. He is the heir apparent. He is the LeBron James to the Israel Adesanya's Michael Jordan. Like, he really is. Like, he is special. He's got a near 7-foot reach. 210 centimeters, I believe, at 6'3". He's 26. I'm going to say this again, in case you don't remember it. Navajo Sterling will be a UFC champion. Not just fighter, champion. He is that good. I just wanted to document that down. That's probably the one thing I will time code so we can come back. Navajo Sterling. Mitchell Tinley said from Australian MMA, Friday 14th, June 2024, that Navajo Sterling will be UFC champion before the end of 2026. There you go. Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right. Now, Sam K, stud, tough as nails. Probably just not on Navajo's level, but that's, I just like that. How can you be? I think Sam K, if he sticks around, he could be the light heavyweight champion. We could maybe see him versus Brando. We could see him versus Randall Raymond again. Like, it's like, who knows what is sort of next for him type thing, because I think he's just come off the back of 3 PFL losses. So he's not going to sort of have an opportunity there. Did I say Randall Raymond again? Randall Raymond for the first time. But it's it's interesting. So I'm not entirely sure what we'll do. But Sam K, I think if he wants to sort of stick around and he could be up there, like similar to the Randall Raymond, like he can be sort of the top of Australian MMA if he still wants to be. But look, who knows? That's 4 losses in a row, unfortunately, for Sam K. So who knows what he might want to do. Of course, the level, you're at PFL 3 times and then you take on Navajo Sterling. They're losses that shouldn't hurt you too much in the Australian MMA scene, but hey, who knows? Guys, that about does me. I hope you guys enjoyed the fights. Hope you enjoyed the little recap. Let me know what you think. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Stick with me. We will hopefully be chatting to Lachlan Stitt and John Varkey this week, who will both be competing for the the Eternal MMA welterweight title. How dare I? They're looking to crown their new champion since Joey Luciano and since the books of the uneventful fight of Old Mates and Caleb Rideout didn't happen. So Eternal MMA looking to finally crown their welterweight champion in what feels like over a year. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. June 22nd is Eternal MMA on UFC Fight Pass, but we will have loads more content. Follow us at Australian MMA _, and of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good night, everybody.